here, and I want to go into some more of the scalability and compatibility elements of UForms and things that excite us a great deal about this product. And I want to move into the fact that the client interface, the developer designer interface, and the UForms server system are compiled from the same source code base. In other words, there's only one set of source code for the entire platform. This benefit is the UForms functionality can be layered on as needed. In other words, we can compile out certain conditions that aren't necessary and create a very, very thin client in the hundreds of K in order to be able to serve ourselves. An example of how we have used this in the past is a security camera system built in Taiwan that had a small Linux server attached to it with 4 cameras, went in a box, a retail box, away we went. They had no way of pulling apart the JPEG blob that was stored when the camera triggered to start storing, instead of video, start storing JPEGs in rapid format from the camera of a point where the intrusion was occurring, and so the sensor would kick in. UForms gave the capability of taking that blob apart and basically delivering the images, image by image, to cell phones, allowing that same component to basically ring 16 numbers at the same time. Cell phones work up, they got a link and they hit the hyperlink. They literally page through the image captures on the security camera until they saw the face of the individual coming into the building, or that they would determine the type of intrusion that it was. A couple holidaying in Europe could literally phone their daughter because she hadn't shut the security system off while she was feeding the cat in their home in California, and save themselves a security trip. We thought that this was very beneficial. And because of the fact that we can take this functionality and break it apart and put it onto smaller form factors, small compiles of Linux or anything of that nature, really speaks towards us being able to put this on a chip in any kind of firmware. And so we're quite excited about that, and the fact that it will compile from one set of source code. The Common Source Code Foundation, big advantage, all C++. So this allows developers to write it once when providing solutions for the internet or standard software products. Right? It's one of the great benefits. Same layout file source code will be understood and correctly interpreted by UForms on Linux, Unix, and Windows. In other words, write it once, and then all of your servers will handle the layout object. That's very exciting. Also, the fact that the UForms engine is thin, and we mean thin. Total compile, even though it might be we coded about 3 million lines of code to bring this in, discarded obviously about 2/3 of that, so we're sitting at 1 million+ lines of code, and that renders down into a DLL or executable or a proper component for the appropriate operating system. To about 800 to 1 meg in size, 800K to 1 meg. And therefore we have a solution that fits on a floppy disk. Very small, very thin, and absolutely no DLL to deal with, and we think that this is highly important. We make thinner servers possible. In other words, like I said, the security camera stuff, and then you can relate back to showing you this PowerPoint, the high density micro drives. Well, that's just standard procedure now. In 2002 and 2003, it wasn't. Sony's memory stick, those type of things. We saw coming up disposable cellular servers, solid state server that basically might act as a weather station, or an oil pipeline sensor, or things of that nature, or fit within automobile hardware very, very easily and install nicely. Installations on the user's machine, seconds. No DLL hell, like I said. Also, being small, UForms spawns rapidly in memory and is multi-threaded. In other words, that example of Able Corporation, they were dishing out at their peak about 1 million images a day, as far as we understand. UForms was grinding out those out in literally in seconds. We had no complaints of performance issues, downgrade as we went. very, very popular with that. Not only that, but being that we're backward compatible and can shoot out images in PNG, GIF, 8-color bitmap if you want, black and white shaded gradients, 256 grayscale, all of those particular things needs were very, very important to the people around us, and we saw that this was going to be a real opportunity in the cellular range. And so we felt it was really important that we have something that worked and was able to process in the millions and millions of transactions. That drove us to redesign the system back before 2001 and into 2002. And we basically designed the underlying architecture much like a micro OS kernel architecture, providing us with something that would be much akin to what would reside on a chip, where you would have buses and the such passing information back and forth. So you can see from this structure that we've built here that we have a control, property, imaging, and data bus. And that one of the big components that we've got, and you can see all of this written here. We had all kinds of dreams to deal with this, but like I said, again, we focused on making sure that it would fit our host application, but we know that this can fit many, many other host applications as well. It also has its own version of a white room developed version of a vector imaging format, Flash. In other words, we basically set the developer aside with the spec needed to be written, but no reference towards any other source code. So we have a vector imaging system that does all of the stuff that Macromedia Flash does, except it's unencumbered by any source code from any other vector imaging developer. And so we would have a pristine version of this, could be checked against with a third-party escrow agent to verify such as the case. We think that that's a very, very big plus because of the fact that we have some great capability of incorporating with the graphics engine, bringing the text and graphics together in a very, very quick fashion, and with some very high resolution anti-aliasing work that we've done. We cause the rendering engine to work below the single pixel level. So we really think that there's some power in this, especially with the older systems that Oracle has to deal with in the banking community. All of those Windows servers out there and whatnot will likely contain TrueType fonts because those were the fonts that were available, that were scalable and usable by all of those systems. Well, we actually have taken and enhanced the TrueType font format with our rendering engine, and this allows us to be able to take certain fonts and, for instance, provide scannable barcodes on current 2.5G phone screens now available in Japan, or that's what I was saying in Japan then at that time. Docomo, when we presented the barcode scanning solution to us, stated simply that that was not possible, and whatever we were doing was some kind of utter magic. But we were seeing their ads where they were advertising this functionality, and yet they were thinking about something in the future. When we delivered the information thinking that that's what they were looking for, they weren't prepared to receive it. So it was kind of a bomb for us and discouraging, but nevertheless, what it provided us with this insight in the building of the process, because we figured that's what our competitors were doing at the time, we basically corrected the needs, or solved the need for something that we think was very significant. And this is the rendering of the fonts over top of the graphics, such that you can combine that together and then put it into one single image. In other words, you're not putting fonts on top of images, but you're actually embedding them in them and then re-rendering the entire thing together so that it comes out as one image, and thereby making it, first off, very secure, unreadable, your text is not going across, and not only that, but highly readable by what I said, like I said before, the bifocal crowd. In other words, more senior people that are more averse to using the new technology simply because of readability, in the case of Viewforms, ended up with a tremendous benefit.